Hey everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Rashmi Devangan and today we're going to discuss about the procedures for aerodrome control services. Also, you can find all the other topics of air regulations in my channel, and especially those who are giving DGC examination to obtain a CPL. I am making the videos keeping you guys in mind, so you can definitely go and check it out. So without wasting much time, we'll start with our topic. So the aerodrome control services include the information and clearances to the aircraft which is provided in the vicinity of the aerodrome or to the aircraft which is on the aerodrome. And this is done to achieve safe and orderly and the expeditious flow of air traffic in order to prevent the collision. This collision can be between two aircrafts or aircraft and the vehicles in the maneuvering area, or the aircraft and the obstructions which may be nearby to the aerodrome, for example buildings, hills, etc. This is done by the aerodrome controller. In case of low visibility conditions, they make use of the ATS surveillance system to control the traffic. This traffic controlling is done with the help of some rules which are prescribed in either the temporary local instructions which is concerned to the airport, and also you can say the standard, if it is not provided, if the temporary local instruction is not provided in the aerodrome, then the standard set of rules are there that has to be followed by the aerodrome controller. Next, for its smooth functioning, this aerodrome control tower has divided its work into three different categories. So first one is aerodrome controller. They handle the operations on the runway and the aircrafts flying in the area of responsibility of the tower. Here tower refers to the aerodrome control unit only. Okay, and then the ground controller, they tackle all the air traffic in the maneuvering area except the one which is in the runway. And last but not the least, clearance delivery position. They give the startup instructions and ATC clearance for the departing IFR flights. Now we'll be talking about various type of informations that is provided by the aerodrome control services, informations as well as services. So first is the alerting service. So it is the task of the aerodrome control service to provide alerting services or rescue and firefighting services to an aircraft who has had an accident on or in the vicinity of the aerodrome. Also, if the information is received that the aircraft which is arriving, its safety has been impaired, and that aircraft comes under the jurisdiction of that aerodrome control tower only. In that case, they have to take action. And also, if it is requested by any of the flight crew, then they have to provide alerting services to them. Now coming to the next topic, which is the procedure for startup and assignment of flight level to the departing aircraft. So in case of departure, again, a very common basic thing is there that you can do it with the common sense only. So the aerodrome control services will be providing you information and certain instructions regarding your takeoff and landing, and that you have to maintain certain minimum separation between the preceding aircrafts. Okay, and also very common things such as if the pilot is asking for the startup instruction request and the aero bridge is still attached to the aircraft, in that case the aerodrome control service have to inform that your aero bridge is still attached, right? Similar kind of things have to be instructed to the pilot in command and to the aircrafts who are going to depart from that aerodrome. Similarly, if you take other examples also, that adequate sequence of departures have to be provided. In case of the emergency flight, they have to be given priority priority as compared to the other flights who are in the lineup. And also, if there is an aircraft who is going to land in the same runway, In that case, the aircraft which is going to depart from that same runway have to be asked to wait for some time until that aircraft lands. Okay, all these things are there, and also that the cruise climb is not permitted in the Indian flight information region, and transonic and supersonic phase of the flight are also not permitted in the Indian airspace. These are very common things. And again, one more thing, that cockpit check has to be completed prior to the lineup, and any other check requiring completion while on the runway should be kept to the minimum required. So you don't have to occupy the runway for a very long time. So for that only you have to complete all your major checks prior to establishing yourself on the runway. So all these things are included in this topic. Next, coming up to the control of the aerodrome traffic. In this, the aircrafts which is performing the taxi circuits, and is in the traffic circuit, in that positions, they will be provided with the aerodrome control services. So it is shown in this diagram. So this is the runway. If it is in this area, this is called the upwind area, this is the downwind area, this is base leg, this is final, which is 4 nautical miles from the start of the runway, and this is known as the long final. One second. Yeah, so it is from 4 nautical miles to 8 nautical mile distance from the start of the runway. Okay, threshold, we call it threshold of the runway. So in these area, the aerodrome control services are provided to the aircraft. Next point is the traffic on the maneuvering area and control of the taxiing aircraft. So the taxi clearance has to be provided by the aerodrome control service. In this case, they have to tell that which taxi route have to be followed by the aircraft, and other instructions, as in do they have to cross the runway which is in use, or either they have to hold short of that runway. All those instructions are to be given. Next is taxiing on the runway in use, and definitely if the runway is in use you cannot cross it, so you have to hold short that runway for a period of time, and unless prior permission has been obtained from the ATC, the pilot and in command has to hold on the runway in use, and only the aircraft will be cleared to land on the runway in use at any one time except formation flight by the military aircraft. Okay, this is one exception, that that the military aircrafts are only allowed to use the runway all at once, otherwise one by one only their runway is used, and the pilot who is required to backtrack the runway for departure must notify the ATC prior to the commencement of the taxi. Okay, so these are all the points that come under this point. Okay, and also one more thing, that the runway has to be vacated by the landing aircraft as soon as possible, so that the optimum use of the runway can be done. The time for the other traffic, they should have sufficient time to they don't have to wait for landing or for takeoff. So these things have to be taken in mind, and so they have to be vacated. The runway has to be vacated as soon as possible. Okay. Then the runway holding position. This is the one where you have to wait unless you can go into the start with your runway departure process. You can take off with okay. So before that you have to hold in the position. If you are instructed, if there is any flight which is going to land in that area, you have to stand in the holding area and all that things. Okay, so it is a little bit away from the runway. It is usually like 50 meter from the runway edge. Okay, where the runway is 900 meter or more, and 30 meter from the runway edge where the runway is less than 900 meter. I'll add this up, wait 1 second. So I've added it here, that the holding position will be 50 meter away from the runway edge if the length of the runway is 900 meter or more, and In case if it is less than 900 meter, the position of the the holding position will be 30 meter from the runway edge. Now coming to the information to the aircraft by the tower. In this startup time procedures, so they have to inform the aircraft when and how the startup has to be done, and they have to do adequate calculations and then issue the instructions to the departing aircraft as in how and when they have to start up. Next point is aerodrome and meteorological information. So there are a lot of informations that is provided to the aircraft. Obviously the ones which are important for the aircraft to take off, all these things are only provided, but then again the information are which runway has to be used, if there is any surface wind or direction of the wind is changing, or there is any significant variation in the winds in the runway, that has to be informed. The QNH altimeter setting has to be informed, and the air temperature for the runway, the visibility in the runway, RVR, all those things. So the visibility, if it is less than 10 kilometers, in that case, or in the case where the certain RVR value is applicable, in that case the aircraft is allowed to take off or land, and then the correct time can be provided to the aircraft if they ask for it. Next point is advice given to the aircraft prior to the takeoff. So any significant change in the surface, wind direction, meteorological informations during the climb out area phase in the climb out area, so all those things, and then prior entering to the traffic circuit or commencing its approach to landing, again they have to tell that which runway is in use, surface, wind direction and speed, etc., QNH altimeter setting, etc. Okay, next is essential local traffic information. If there is any, they have to provide it. Runway incursion or obstructed runway. In case that there is an obstructed runway, if there is a vehicle in the runway, or there is a flock of birds or any other cow or dog or any other animal like that, if it is there in the runway, so in that case they have to inform it to the aircraft. Also they can ask for the aircraft to cancel their takeoff, and also they are instructed that the aircraft which is landing, they can go for a go around. Okay. Now finally, uncertainty of the position on the maneuvering area. So if the aircraft is uncertain about its position in the maneuvering area, then what they have to do is stop your aircraft, and simultaneously they have to notify the appropriate ATS unit that they have no idea where they are, and the last point which they knew it, they have to report that. So in that case, if the ATC or the air traffic service unit, whichever the appropriate one is, in that case they will give you the further instructions as in to hold on, or either to go into such and such taxiway and go to the apron, or follow this path, any of this. Now if you are suppose you happen to be in a runway, in that case again you have to stop your aircraft, notify the appropriate ATS unit, and if you are able to locate a nearby suitable taxiway, vacate the runway as soon as possible, or unless otherwise instructed by the ATS unit. And if you are not in the runway, or if you are in some other taxiway or any other position, again you have to do the same thing. Okay. Then we are talking about the wake turbulence and the jet blast hazard. In this case, the aerodrome control, they have to, whenever applicable, apply the wake turbulence separation minima which is specified. Okay, whenever the responsibility for the wake turbulence avoidance rests with the pilot in command, aerodrome controller shall, to the extent practicable, advise the aircraft of the expected occurrence of hazards caused by the turbulence wake. Okay, so this is as normal as keeping a separation between the two aircraft so that you do not get into the wake turbulence of the other aircraft. Otherwise, the aircraft's control becomes very much uncontrollable. The aircraft becomes uncontrollable. You are not able to fly in the proper augmented attitude. You cannot control the aircraft properly. So in that case, you have to keep a proper separation from the other aircraft, right? Next is the aerodrome condition. So of course the aerodrome condition has to be informed to the aircraft. So if there is any temporary construction or maintenance work going on, I'm sorry about the disturbances if you're coming, if you're listening, sorry about that. So we'll continue with our topic. If the runway is rough and broken and the taxiway is also not in a good condition, or the apron, then they have to be informed to the pilot. And if there is a snow, slush, ice on the runway, water, snow banks, etc., or if any temporary hazards are there, including parked aircraft or birds on the ground, and if there is a failure or irregular operation of the part of the aerodrome lighting system, in that case this has to be informed to the pilot. So apart from controlling the aircraft traffic, they have to control other vehicles, etc., in the maneuvering area, etc., also the lighting system and all those things. So we'll be discussing about that now. See, and so now we'll be talking about the entry to the maneuvering area. So entry to the maneuvering area in the low visibility is restricted up to certain minima, and a particular regard is given to protect the ILS sensitive areas when category 2 or 3A precision instrument is in progress. Okay, and then priority on the maneuvering area. So if there is any emergency vehicle or any such signals which have been provided for the emergency, then that has to be given priority, and rest all others are secondary things at that time. Finally, we'll be talking about the light signal meanings. So the flashing runway lights and vacate the runway or taxiway and observe the tower for the light signals. All these are the operations that has to be done by the aerodrome control services. Fine. Moving on to the priority rules. So the priority has to be given to the aircraft or the vehicles which are in an emergency situation, or if they're carrying any VVIP or big dignitaries in their flight, they have to be given priority. And if the aircraft is in a search and rescue mission, and then again if there is any person who is sick, we already talked about it, if any aircraft is engaged in a live scramble, all those things come under the ones which are given the priority. Military fighter flights also are included in this. Okay, so the VFR flight operations can be suspended if there is a question mark on the safety of the aircraft. So they can be suspended either by the appropriate approach control unit or the aerodrome control unit or any appropriate ATS authority. It can be suspended. So what the VFR flights are instructed in that case is that they are asked to hold their position, okay, and if not, they are asked that to recall all the local flights operating in the VFR conditions and obtain approval for special VFR flights. So special VFR flight operations might be provided to some of the VFR flights, and then notify the approach control unit or ACC as appropriate of the action taken. And again, if there are any designated representatives of the reason for taking such actions, if necessary or requested, so they will be informing the operators. So if there is any representative, designated representative in the flight, they have to notify the operators that such and such is the condition, and they need to land, etc. Okay, so moving on to the control of traffic in the traffic circuit. So entry of the traffic circuit, first we'll be talking about this. So the clearance to enter the traffic circuit should be issued to an aircraft whenever it is desired that the aircraft approach the landing area in accordance with the current traffic circuits, but traffic conditions do not yet allow a landing clearance to be issued. Depending on the circumstances and traffic conditions, an aircraft may be cleared to join at any position in the traffic circuit. An arriving aircraft executing an instrument approach shall normally be cleared to land straight in unless visual maneuvering to the landing runway is required. Okay. Then order of priority for arriving and departing aircraft. So obviously the arriving aircraft is given priority to the departing aircraft. Okay. Then control of the departing aircraft. In this case, again, the departing sequence is given by the aerodrome control unit, and the separation of the departure aircraft. This is an important one. Departing aircraft will not normally be permitted to commence takeoff until the preceding departing aircraft has crossed the end of the runway in use, or they have started a turn, or until all the preceding landing aircrafts and are cleared of the runway in use. For the arriving aircraft also, the sequence and separation are provided by the Aerodrome Control Service, and proper clearance etc. have to be provided to land. Okay. Further, we have procedures for low visibility operations. In this condition, the operation person or vehicle operating on the maneuvering area of the aerodrome shall be restricted to the essential minimum, and the particular regard has to be given to protect the ILS sensitive areas when category 2 and category 3A precision instrument operations are in progress. Okay. The aeronautical ground lights. So all the lights on the ground shall be operated during the time from sunset to sunrise, and also from sunrise to sunset if the visibility is less than or equal to 3000 meters, and when requested by the pilot, or in any other condition which require the lights to be on. And also runway lights, which includes the lights on the edge, threshold, center line, touchdown zone lights, and wing bar lights. All these will be included in the runway lights. They also have to be switched on, and the runway in use only should have all these lights switched on. The one which is not in use, they don't require the lights to be switched on unless any maintenance or any other work is going on in that runway. Okay, and then there are also certain criteria, as in up to what time this runway lights have to be kept on. So they have to be kept on unless the estimated time of the return of the aircraft which has just departed in case of any emergency, and also it is said that in any case not less than 15 minutes of the takeoff. 15 minutes. Okay, this is it. Finally, we'll be talking about the wind shear advice. So wind shear is, there is a difference in variation in the wind direction or speed due to the downdraft or the updraft, anything in the runway. So this causes, turbulence in the runway final approach itself, which is very much dangerous for the landing of the aircraft, or even during the departure. So in that case, wind shear advice is a must that has to be provided to the aircraft. So the wind shear is calculated up to 1500 feet from the runway surface. Okay. This is what is provided to the aircrafts, and whenever the pilot reports that there is a wind shear condition, then the information shall be passed to the subsequent arriving and the departing aircrafts also, and it has to be it has to be transmitted to that aircraft unless it is made sure that it does not exist any longer, and the wind shear information has been included in the ATIS. So this is kept in mind, and with regards to this, the wind shear advice is given to the aircrafts. And then there is something which is known as the hotspot. So the aerodrome operator shall, whenever necessary, designate a location or several locations on the movement area of the aerodrome as hotspots. So this shall be chartered in accordance with the annexure number 4. Okay. Finally, we'll be talking about the coefficient of friction. So the coefficient of friction is a very necessary thing for landing and takeoff as well. So in the locations where the snow or ice is there, in that case it becomes very much unsafe to land and take off if the coefficient of friction is not known. So in that case we have certain codes for the coefficient of friction which is again transmitted to the aircraft before they land or before they take off, so that they are prepared with it for it. Okay, so for 0.25 or below, it is said to be poor and its code is 1. From 0.26 to 29, it is medium to poor and code is 2. 0.30 to 0.35, medium, 3. 0.36 to 0.39, it is medium to good and it is 4. 0.36 to okay, this is done. 0.4 or above, it is said to be a good surface friction and code is 5. So better friction is obviously preferred. So there is again something which is known as the third of runway. So the coefficient of friction information is provided at each third of the runway. So the runway is divided into 3 parts, and for each part the coefficient of friction is provided. So the first part being the one from where the landing is being made. Okay. That was the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching, and if you liked my video, do give it a thumbs up and also tell me in the comments if you liked it. Also, do subscribe to my channel and press the bell icon. Thank you so much for watching again, and we'll see you in the next one.